Senator Vance is making waves yet again, this time with a stark warning. The United Kingdom is on track to become the first Islamist nation armed with nuclear weapons. His remarks, bound to stir controversy, come just as he prepares for a high-stakes meeting with UK Labour leader Keir Starmer next week. According to reports from GB News, Vance intends to challenge Starmer directly on what he sees as an alarming crackdown on free speech in Britain. With tensions over civil liberties mounting on both sides of the Atlantic, this showdown could mark a pivotal moment in the transatlantic debate over free expression and national security. Now, check this video.
I was talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over. But
we want to hear from you. Do you agree with Vance's warning, or is this political posturing? Is free speech truly under threat in the UK? Or is this just another partisan battle? Drop your thoughts in the comments and join the debate.
I heard his speech, and I tell you, you're talking about JD's speech, right?
Yes, sir.
I heard his speech, and he talked about freedom of speech, and I think it's true in Europe. It's losing. They're losing their wonderful right of freedom of speech. I see it. I mean, I thought he made a very good speech, actually, a very brilliant speech. Yeah. Europe has to be careful. And he talked about immigration. And Europe has a big immigration problem. Just take a look at what's happened with crime. Take a look at what's happening in various parts of Europe. I thought his speech was very well received, actually. I've heard very good remarks.
Donald Trump is absolutely right, and so is Vance. The UK and Europe are witnessing the slow erosion of their once prized right to free speech. Nowhere is this more evident than in the UK under Keir Starmer's leadership, where censorship and political crackdowns are becoming the norm. Make no mistake, freedom of speech is under siege. If we fail to defend it now, we won't just lose a fundamental right, we risk watching our democracies slide into authoritarian rule. The question is, will we fight back before it's too late? Keir Starmer is playing high-stakes diplomacy with British lives, recklessly posturing as Europe's statesman while ignoring the harsh realities of military readiness. His shocking pledge to commit British troops to a peacekeeping force in Ukraine has sent shockwaves through the military community, and not in a good way. As a former British Army officer, I've seen my fair share of political grandstanding on military matters. But this is next level recklessness. Starmer's announcement comes just as Donald Trump makes his return to the White House, already reshaping global security by opening direct back-channel talks with Vladimir Putin. And yet, here's the reality check. Ukraine isn't even in the room. Trump has made it crystal clear. America is done bankrolling Europe's security. The message to NATO is simple. If you want protection, you'll have to pay for it yourselves. Cue European panic. In response, leaders across the continent are scrambling for solutions, and Starmer is eager to step into the limelight, pledging British troops for a peacekeeping mission that hasn't even been agreed upon. Speak to any seasoned military commander, and they'll tell you the same thing. This is pure folly. I've spoken with senior officers, both serving and retired, and the response is unanimous, is belief. Where are these so-called peacekeepers coming from? Years of underfunding have left the British military overstretched and under-resourced. General Lord Dannatt, the former head of the British Army, has already sounded the alarm, making it clear that Britain is in no position to take on such a mission without a massive boost in defense spending. And it's not just about boots on the ground. Whether it's patrolling a post-war, fly zone, or deploying the Royal Navy to the Black Sea, Starmer's rhetoric is detached from reality. We simply don't have the personnel, the equipment, or the long-term strategic plan to make it work. The most alarming part? Starmer is making grand, sweeping commitments without any clear objectives, Peacekeeping isn't a symbolic gesture. It requires infrastructure, logistics, force protection, and a defined political strategy. Right now, none of those elements are in place. European leaders are already backing away from this dangerous gamble. Germany's Olaf Scholz has warned that talking about peacekeeping while the war is still raging is premature, and pressure is mounting for the UN to take charge instead. Yet Starmer is charging ahead, seemingly more focused on securing his image as a global leader than on the practicalities of such a deployment. Next week, Starmer jets off to Washington to meet Trump. The big question: will he double down or backtrack under American pressure? If he seeks EU's backing, make no mistake, Trump will demand something in return. If Starmer truly wants Britain to play a serious role in global security, there's only one viable path forward: increase defense spending and rebuild the nation's military capability. Anything less, and he's making empty promises at best, or at worst, putting British lives on the line for the sake of political theatre. As someone who has served and understands the weight of sending troops into harm's way, I can only hope reason prevails before it's too late. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer must stop punishing hard-working Brits. Council tax is up. The cost of food is up. Mortgage rates are soaring. When will it end? The grim reality facing families across England is that 9 in 10 councils are now being forced to impose the maximum council tax hike, piling even more pressure on hard-working households, pensioners, and small businesses. This is a direct consequence of Labour's budget, an agenda that prioritizes reckless spending over fiscal responsibility. At a time when inflation is already squeezing household budgets, families are being hit from every direction. Grocery bills are rising, mortgage payments are surging, and now Labour's so-called jobs tax is adding even more financial strain to local councils, costs that will inevitably be passed down to taxpayers. Instead of providing relief, Labour has doubled down on its tax and spend dogma, squeezing the British people dry while stifling economic growth. And let's talk about Angela Rayner's latest betrayal: allowing certain councils to bypass the 5 cap on council tax hikes without a referendum. The result? Local authorities like Lib Dem run Somerset and Windsor Maidenhead, along with Labour run Trafford and bankrupt Birmingham, are being rewarded for financial mismanagement, while hardworking families are left to foot the bill. But the pain doesn't stop at council tax. Labour's new jobs tax and higher business rates are an all-out assault on the backbone of our economy. Small businesses and pubs, these local establishments, vital to communities up and down the country, are being pushed to the brink of closure. It's a death sentence for Britain's high streets. And in perhaps the most shameful move yet, Labour is stripping pensioners of their winter fuel allowance while demanding they pay more in council tax to bail out failing councils. Let that sink in. Some of the most vulnerable in our society are being forced to suffer so Labour can prop up its failing financial policies. Meanwhile, Conservative-run councils have consistently delivered better services for less, keeping council tax bills lower on average while maintaining quality. That's because Conservatives believe in keeping taxes low, so that families can thrive, businesses can grow, and communities can prosper. Labour's relentless tax hikes are nothing less than an attack on aspiration, hard work, and personal responsibility. And come May, voters will remember exactly who stood up for their interests. It's time to stop punishing success, reward responsibility, and give hardworking Brits the financial breathing space they deserve.